The first attack actually happened in 1999 when the then provincial Minister for Education, Sardar Hazara, being the Sardar of our tribe in Quetta, was targeted. Unfortunately, his personal guard lost his life and he was saved. Since then, we have been facing every now and then the turmoil in Quetta, especially, or the mayhem that has been happening in the form of mass killings and target killings against the Hazaras especially. And until now, we have lost over 700 innocent people, and with 1,000 others injured, and most of them severely injured, those who have lost their limbs, those who have lost their organs, and they are paralyzed for life. So this really started in 1999, the first attack.
Now, very few people outside of Pakistan understand what's happening in Baluchistan. Even people in Pakistan have very little idea of what's going on there. The big story is the fact that there's still a lot of Baloch nationalist groups of Baloch ethnicity in the province who resent the state's extractive relationship with them. Then post the Afghan war, there was also the issue of Pashtuns from Afghanistan and the rest of the country disturbing the demographics of Baluchistan and coming in large numbers. Where do the Hazaras fit into all of this? How did they end up becoming a target for the various tensions in that province?
Well, if we talk about the history of Afghanistan, for example, or the recent history, we would be mixing up the whole situation or the whole scenario, the mayhem which is happening in Baluchistan now. The reason being, there was in 1892, there was a king of Afghanistan, his name was Abdul Rahman. By ethnicity, he was Pashtun. He was the one who tried to eliminate the Hazaras from the surface of Afghanistan. And according to very careful facts and figures there, he murdered or massacred over 60% of Hazara population, mainly in central Afghanistan, which is also known in Hazarajat. Coming to the revolution in Iran, which happened in 1979, then afterwards the influx of the people towards Iranian border as well as Pakistani border, which happened as a result of the infiltration of Russian forces at that very time. But I should tell you with full confidence that the Hazaras had been living in Baluchistan even before that. The sectarian violence actually in Pakistan, we know is not new. This happened in the era or in the regime of General Ziaul Haq. But we can say that the sectarian violence, especially in Baluchistan, which has exacerbated the law and order situation that happened in the last 10 to 15 years. Coming to the issue of Baloch resistance movement, we also have contact with the Baloch people or the Baloch leaders who are of course living here, who are living in Baluchistan, and they have assured the Hazaras that they are not involved in the killing of Hazaras or they do not want to involve in sectarian violence. That is absolutely a different chapter which they have launched against the security personnel, against the government of Pakistan. In other words, you can say they are running their own freedom movement, which has nothing to do with the sectarian violence. Our target killing or the target killing of the Shias living in Baluchistan, especially in Quetta, Pakistan, is the result of interference or intervention of Pakistan into Afghanistan and into other countries. Now we know that at the time or in the regime of General Ziaul Haq, with the Saudi money obviously and with the training of the people here, they created or they produced more jihadis. At that time they would call them more jihadis, but now they have become terrorists. The reason they have become terrorists is because they haven't turned up against the government, but they are killing the innocent people. Now the Shias, the history of Pakistan very well reveals that the Shias were the one who have got their blood to lay down the foundation of Pakistan, but unfortunately some elements in Pakistan, with the help of the government agencies and with the help of the government operators, are trying to dismantle the law and order situation and create a big gulf between the Shia and Sunni faction, which otherwise is totally wrong. So this is all happening due to a reason, I should say, because the Saudi is financing them. There is a small faction of intelligence agency in Pakistan, and the government officials and the people in the corridor of power who are supporting, obviously, these terrorists, who are training them, who are financing them, who are harboring them, and who, in every sense, providing them logistical support in order for the terrorists to kill innocent people, especially Shia. So I would come again to the question which you have raised with regard to the Afghanistan and the Pakistan. Now, there was a special regiment before the partition, before the independence of Pakistan, that was known as Hazara Pioneer. Hazara Pioneer Regiment actually included the people who belonged to Hazara tribe or Hazara nation, and they have worked side by side with the British government. If you look at there was a book which was named as The Diaries of Kandahar, that was written by an English army man, and that gives you the accounts of the history from 1805 to 1947, in which he has explicitly mentioned the contribution of Hazaras towards today's Pakistan. So we even were living in Baluchistan or in Quetta city before the Pakistan came into being.
You know, it's the people who've been attacking the Hazaras in the past few weeks, and perhaps longer than that, has been a group known as the Liaqat Ali Hazara, which is based in southern Punjab, which has been blamed for carrying out attacks as far out as the Mumbai attacks in 2008. And they have had a very vicious anti-Shia agenda. Why is it that they are now coming all the way to Baluchistan, which is quite some distance away, or based now in Baluchistan, in another province altogether, and specifically targeting the Hazara community? Why have they gotten themselves involved, apart from obviously their ideology, but why not practice that ideology in nearby, maybe in Lahore or maybe in Karachi? Why come out to Baluchistan?
Well, with regard to this issue, I would give my opinion in the way that the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi has got affiliation with the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and with the Taliban, obviously the Afghan Taliban, what you call it, as well as with the Al-Qaeda. According to Asia Times Online and according to their reporters, Salim Shahzad, who obviously was mysteriously murdered, he says Lashkar-e-Jhangvi at present has got over 2,000 suicide bombers ready. So they are waiting only for one instruction where they can go and blow themselves up, which in other words mean that the manpower to the Taliban, to the Al-Qaeda, is being provided by Lashkar-e-Jhangvi. Coming to your question, why they have turned up to Baluchistan, the terrorism or the wave of terrorism which has spread across Pakistan is unfortunately the reason of what we saw in the past. So now we are actually, this is the result of what we are seeing now. The Lashkar-e-Jhangvi has turned up for several reasons in Baluchistan. They were, obviously they were available there. They were there because they've got their training camps, according to Rahman Malik, they've got their training camps in the suburb of Quetta. If the sectarian attack, the first sectarian attack against the Hazaras especially, happened in 1999, which shows that these people were available even before 1999, before they could carry out their full-fledged operation or terrorist attacks against the people. As far as I can perceive the situation, I can see, or I can say, that they have turned up against the Hazaras because we do not have anyone to raise a voice in the parliament, be it provincial or federal. And it is very unfortunate to say that the vibrant media of Pakistan, in other words, they said, was very independent, and there was a lot of boasting about the Pakistani media that it would raise voice of against cruelty, against atrocities, but unfortunately, in our case, that has been very silent. I can give you a small example. Recently, or in the month of September, the last week of September, we have got a political party which is known as Hazara Democratic Party. They went down to Islamabad to protest, to raise their voice. The media men came there to interview the chairman, who is Ahlulbayt Hazara. But the other day, for the coverage of the demonstration, they didn't turn up. While inquiring why they didn't turn up, they said, well, we have got families, and you must understand that we could give you coverage to a certain time or a certain limit, and we have got our own problems and we have got our own engagements, and in other words, we have got compulsion, which is why we couldn't come to give you the coverage of the demonstration. Now, if, for example, the vibrant media of Pakistan can utterly speak like that or say like that, it means that the intelligence agencies or the elements within intelligence agencies could be exerting enough pressure on them not to go for the coverage. On the other hand, there were no other people or no other supporters to come and stand by or to come and support the people who had gone hundreds of miles away to raise their voice in the capital of Pakistan. Now, we can see if the terrorism, we know that the epicenter of terrorism nowadays is southern Punjab. But we must understand that in January 2008, there were two masterminds who had been apprehended, Saifullah Kurd and Dawood Badini. And according to the papers, according to the official record, they are the people who have been behind every sectarian killing, behind every target killing of the Hazaras in Quetta, Baluchistan. But in January 2008, they mysteriously escaped from a high security zone of Quetta, or the cantonment of Quetta, where the prison of anti-terrorist force was situated. Now, without breaking the bars, without breaking the wall, without doing anything, they walked away from the main door of the prison. Now, how could it be possible without the, without the people being involved from inside, the officials and the officers being involved from inside? Now, if the people like them can escape from the prison, and there is no justice, no investigation was carried out, nobody was taken into task, even the officials or the officers. Now, it means that there are people in the government or in the government agencies who are involved and who are behind the target killings. In this way, they are killing the Shias or the Hazaras because we, once again, I'm saying, do not have any voice to raise. Unfortunately, we have been coming down here, for example, in all over the world from the 1st of October, there was a mass protest all over the world. But you can see the Pakistani media has been less, you can say, cooperative to give them coverage. And if it comes to, for example, our people who demonstrated or who came out of their homes and who protested in front of the Pakistani High Commission in London, you wouldn't believe it that in the first instance when we wanted to present the petition, the High Commission sent a very junior official who had nothing to do with receiving the petition. He was an employee of Nadra. Now, by these instances, you can see how serious the government of Pakistan is. Had it been somewhere in Punjab, had it been somewhere in Karachi, had it been somewhere in other parts of Pakistan where the people have got their parliamentarians, both in provincial and federal government, the scenario could have been different, or they could have retaliated, as we have seen the case in past. Malik Isaac, I would like to mention recently, the ringleader of Lashkar-e-Jhangvi was released from jail. And according to Asia Times, the helicopter of Chief of Army Staff was used to escort him from the jail. Now we can see there is a nexus between the terrorist groups and an element of the government, of the people who are in the corridors of power. So this is the main reason they have come or they have turned up against Hazaras.
You know, just if I mean, it's obvious that there is a ideological reasoning for these groups to hate and want to kill Shia Muslims. How the Hazaras? What sort of sins have they committed that they have been targeted so viciously in the recent past? I mean, they've been target killing, sectarian violence in Pakistan for a very long time, but right now the sectarian violence is almost completely focused on the Hazara population, and which is a recent phenomenon, as we said, started in '99. So what exactly has led to this situation arising? Is this something that the Hazara community has perhaps tried to retaliate or tried to protect itself, which has led to this outburst?
Well, if you look at the history of Pakistan, the Hazaras are the most peaceful people in the history. In Quetta, Pakistan, we have got over 0.7 million population in Quetta, Pakistan. And this is on the record of the government that you wouldn't find a single person not to pay his utility bill. Every person, from a vegetable seller to a businessman to a bureaucrat to a politician and to anyone having money or not, but their first preference would be paying the bill or the utility bill. We are not able to retaliate because we have never been able to pick up arms against them. We have naturally been very quiet. Over 90% of our population is educated, mostly with degree level education, and we have produced people like General Musa Khan, who was Commander-in-Chief in 1965 and 1971 war against India. We have produced prominent people like Liaqat Ali Hazara, who obviously is a legend in Pakistan Air Force. Take a look at the example or the name of Sayyid Ibrar Hazara. We can only raise our voice in most mannered or disciplined way, which in other words is through democratic process. Now, we will try to convince the provincial, if not the provincial, the federal government to take initiatives or to take steps, concrete steps against the terrorists, and there should be targeted operations in Baluchistan to reduce or to minimize the acts of target killings. Other than that, as far as I know, because I'm also in touch with the political leaders and with the other organizations in Quetta, Pakistan, they won't be able to pick up arms, and we won't allow them to do so.
Is that something that perhaps the community is considering changing their attitude towards fighting violence with violence? There have been some admittedly poorly thought out attempts by Pakistan's Shia Muslims to set up militant groups themselves, but do you feel that that's a good way to go?
Sorry, I couldn't hear it.
That basically there have been Shia groups in Pakistan that in response to sectarian violence have taken up arms and have formed militant groups themselves. Do you feel that that's something the Hazara community will perhaps, maybe the younger people frustrated at the lack of action or protection by the government security agencies, do you feel that that's a route that might be ended up taking?
Well, with over 90% of our population being educated, and most of them educated to degree level. Obviously, this is very frustrating for the people, especially for our youth or young generation, to face in day-to-day life the target killings, or they fear going out, especially to bazaars. They fear going out to crowded places. They fear or they are scared of attending the Jummah congregation, for example, the religious congregation, for example, for the sole reason of being targeted, or for the sole reason of being, in other words, falling prey or victim to this naked terrorism. There have been some proposals as well that why the Hazara themselves do not pick up arms, or why they actually do not train their youth to go ahead and actually start taking revenge. But there should be one thing clear, that the government of Pakistan as well as the international community has come to a conclusion that the people who murder innocent people, they do not have a faith. They do not know humanity, they do not have a religion, they do not have any ethnicity. So you can, Lashkar-e-Jangvi today, as far as my research is concerned, has become only an ideology which can comprise of any nation, which can comprise of any ethnicity. If the Hazaras, for example, have to, or the youths have to pick up arms, then there should be a certain target, or there should be the enemy who they can go and fight against, or who they can retaliate against. But in our case, unfortunately, we do not know who our enemy is. If the government says this is a handful of people who come in congested areas of Quetta city, and they take the people off the vehicle, they take the people off the bus, and they check their ID cards and line them up and start shooting them. Now, these only 10 or 12 people according to the government figure, or as they claim. If this is 10 to 12 people, for example, nobody knows who, if they are Baluch, nobody knows if they are Pashtun, nobody knows if they belong to any other ethnicity. So in short, we do not have any option to pick up arms, and if had we known who our enemy is, we could have retaliated. But in our scenario, in our case, that is very different.